Thank you, Nanjisan, for inviting me, distinguished guests, notable speakers, and friends of Japan and Tokyo. Good morning. I'm very happy to be part of this forum. And today I'd like to share my experience of creating impact and connecting communities in Taipei. Today's talk would be about understanding the dynamism of the cities. The way I look at the cities is actually I look at it as an organism or an organic body. And the way I perceive it is perceiving it as internal system that feels like part of our body system, and how do different parts of our organ interact with each other. So in my brief presentation for the next 20 minutes, I will discuss how cities relate to different elements of its important stakeholders. I will divide my presentation in three parts. One is cities times social design, and one is cities times data, and the last would be cities times cities. So this is what I call dynamic elements of the cities. So first of all, I'd like to begin by cities times social design. I will use Taipei as an example. I am a design enabler. I am not a designer. My background is in journalism, but I love design. I love how design connects people, and how I love design brings emotion and feelings to people. And so when I perceive cities and the design, and I think about what if we add design elements to society, and how would social design add value to the current situation? And as you might know, Taipei has just won the World Design Capital for 2016. So there's a strong push for the government to make the city more design-oriented, and yet not just looking good, but looking more design-focused and people more design-minded. I'll share with you how I perceive a holistic way of thinking about cities from a social design perspective. I like to think in 6 parts. Urban critique. I think now everyone as a critique of the urban development, as in a city like Tokyo, which is big and huge, but everyone has a part to contribute. And city has to be fun, and it has to be collective fun. Everyone living in a city, from the past to current in the future, everybody has to produce collective fun and to be having a good time in the city. And citizens have to engage through election, through democracy, through social campaign. And most of all, cities, as they grow bigger and bigger, has to be resilient. I think Tokyo, like Taiwan, has a lot of earthquakes. And I think one of the elements is how do we design and build cities from a resilience point of view? How do we design systems to become more resilient? Infrastructure, mobility, and ecosystem. And thirdly, I think how do we make city available for people to try new things and see new things happening, see new failure, see new setbacks, and yet to see new experiments. And city as an educational platform. I think all of us live in a city. We give birth to new children in the cities, but cities as a university, cities as a learning platform, how do we build it? And how do we make city a public and available classroom for all? And I categorize 3 important words, keywords for the future cities. Decentralized. I think it's important to think about a networked age. How would city functions in a decentralized way? Agents of change, and this illustrates different change makers in the city: curators, entrepreneurs, professors, academics, business people, designers, architects. And system thinking, and this is part of why I think it's important for government to change, to become more creative, to become more innovative. And I will use the following 3 examples: resilience over strength, community over experts, practice over theory, to illustrate my theory and my key points. My company is called Big Questions. Big Questions is to provoke governments and business and everyone to ask questions. And essentially, my job is to merge the 3 otherwise elements that never talk to each other. These 3 elements are design, business, and education. And the value that I'm trying to create for every project that I've produced is to be able to connect all three circles. So for example, when we do a project, we would always leave something for the students, university students or high school students to learn from. And we would find a chance to influence business leaders, to pull them away from their comfort zone, to make them more available for community leaders to be engaged with. But we take a step further. Me and my partner, Richard Hsu, who I will introduce later, we actually took a step further to examine how a city can be a more dynamic and multidisciplinary. If you look at cities, it's actually about multidisciplinary, open system, empathetic, inclusive. This has a lot to do with emotion and feelings. So not just strong infrastructure or big buildings or fast lanes of trains. It's actually about all of this. So the circle surrounded it is actually the important elements living within the city: talents, heroes, governments, community, lifelong learning, innovation, maker, space, energy, hub, and real estate. And if you go further outside, how would cities interact with cities? How would cities in Pan-Asia work together to create multicultural and collaborative relationships? So I will use a first project that we worked on called Future Lab. In Future Lab, one of the problems we examine is we have so many public art events in the city, and a strong element I'm thinking is like Shakespeare, he would say, "City as a stage, everyone is an actor." And we produce a year-long lecture and activities throughout the cities to engage the audience. Now, I'd like to show you a footage. Maybe a bit louder, thank you. We produce a year-long workshop called Future Lab. And it's actually a platform to discuss the futures of Taipei. Over here, we engage expatriates, students, professors, and foreign experts and the government bodies to rethink what would the future would be like. And through design thinking workshops to think about what problems like water, food, space, and government bodies.
这舞台因为有我们的丰富，而我们也因为有这舞台，才得以尽情地表达自我。这就是我们与城市的连结，密不可分。在过去的1年当中，我们不仅访问了近50位的市民。
So we interview 50 citizens. And each of them produce over 12 to 13 minutes footage, and everyone has a different occupation. For example, they are teachers, elderly, or they're students. And then together, we try to form a narrative of what the future will be Taipei like. And here, we actually organize a run from the future. If you see everybody attached to a piece of paper on their back, and that would be, what would I tell myself 20 years from now? And we started out with tree planting activities. Everybody would plant trees and then wear a ring on their hats as a symbol of, I come from the future. And we would work on a public art project. And for these runners, after they arrive at certain location, they can interact with this public arts. And sometimes we have Spider-Man on our activity.
一同想象之余，也让他们知道，这是我们所在乎的未来。Future Lab 所追求的正是以实验的方式来累积未来的可能性，在创造关注与想象的同时，也一步一步地建构起现在与2030年的沟通桥梁。
So this, as they approach the the destination, they would write a message on the balloon as the message from the future, and they will attach to it and later on release to the air. So in 2030, what kind of the city of Taipei you will want to have? Back to my slides, please. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So events like this is actually to break down information barriers, making it easy to communicate and get message across. And we try, when we organize events like TED, we bring TED forum from elite to general public. And this is a TED forum we organized in front of a temple that's over 200 years old. And this is not a real temple, it's under renovation, it's a poster. But you see guests from all over the world, they come and then they give talks on stage. And this photo has a significant meaning because you see on a TED stage, which is supposed to be elite and about exclusive kind of audience, but you see there's a street vendor selling street food on the TED stage. We deliberately create that kind of feeling to break down the barrier. So public can come and just encounter the magic of ideas on streets. And we believe that as we go further, this type of magic needs to be created on a daily basis. And your photo you see, these are our foreign guests eating locally grown organic vegetables. And we also take pretty simple and outdated areas of Taipei, like ghettos, and turn them into little creative hotspots. And this is a project we co-work with City East. And we take these rundown buildings and then turn them into workshop spaces for artists and designers. And this is a project we worked on with street cleaners, street sweepers. These are the people that we normally wouldn't have pay attention to, but we pay special attention to them. We want to make them look good on streets when they do their job because we believe they are important fabric of the society. What we do is we take a study of different cities around the world and how they brand their street sweepers as part of the city branding campaign. We study Japan, we study Denmark, we study Germany, we study France and Spain. And now we think about what we can do for the city of Taipei and then come up with the different kind of uniform. And we also care about design. It's not just making things pretty and making things beautiful. We think about eating is part of our design. And eating and wanting to eat and eat well, eat healthy, and eat safely is important. So we create this Design All You Eat workshop. It is for everybody to bring a type of food from your kitchen or your refrigerator, and we cook together. And we hire food experts. We hire a food appreciator to tell us how to really design your own food based on your body needs and your mental needs. We believe that design is actually not just objects, it's everyday life, but also design is walking into the very deep back streets of your city. This is Mangka. This is a very old part of the town of Taipei. It was filled with crime, it was filled with poverty, and yet it is one of the oldest part and most vibrant part of the city. We do this project called New Mangka, the eye of the old city. And it's a project we do, it's called Iron Makers. And it is to comb the streets of Mangka district and look for 100-year-old mental shacks where all these old craftsmen and smiths, they are still working in their workshops, repairing shoes, repairing the electronic appliances. And so we would look for them and actually profile them. And this, as you can tell, these are the photos of these shop owners of the mental shops. And you see some of them are close to 100 years old. Some of them are in their 30s. They are the second and third generations of shop owners. And we believe that it's important to understand the past and present of the future of the cities and connect them on a human level. And so these people, they are now become what I call iron heroes of the cities. And all the design students now visit them and study under them. And we build apprenticeship programs under these masters. So this is the streets of these iron shops and metal shops that we visited, and it's in this part of Xincheng streets in Mangka district. And so I'd like to take a step further and to kind of share with you why I think what we do is relevant. Richard Sowerman, TED's creator and also TED's inventor, he said that you understand something relative to something you already understand. And I think we all live in under this context that we don't know it all, but it's important to understand a little bit of everything and find the connecting points that connect all these different elements. And also, I'd like to highlight Mr. Joey Ito, who is kind of my personal inspiration. He earlier, when he took over MIT Media Lab as a director, he had 9 principles, which as I practiced my business and learning and connecting different communities that I adhere to. These 9 principles are very, very dear to me, and I think about it oftenly and when I do business. And I'd like to use 3 of them to illustrate an important project that I'm working on. These 3 elements are pull over push, compasses over maps, and system over objects. It's related to system thinking, it's related to holistic way of doing things, but it's also related to create a system that attracts the right people and build a resilient system. And also, in June this year, I visited the city of Barcelona. And I had a chance to talk with Vicente Gouliart, who is the city architect of Barcelona. And he had a very important message to me that I like to share with everybody. The cities and the territories that will be leaders in the near future will be the ones that can create value for the surrounding territory using a minimum of resources. So note that the important elements here are the minimum resources and the people. So next, I'm going into cities over times data. I use these 3 numbers because they have meanings. I will share with you. This is a study done by Richard Sowerman in his Urban Observatory project. It says that in 21st century, 19 cities in the world, there will be 20 million people in these 19 cities. And so as we understand this, you actually try to understand what are exactly the data that the everyday life that we are emitting into the cities, and what communication are we providing, and what mechanism are we building because of this huge volume of data that we are emitting every day. And this is all about scale. And when you think about scale, you cannot think about everyday information that we are posting on Facebook, Twitter, and just about every other social media platform. This is the 19 cities. And as you can tell, in Japan alone, there are 2 cities that will become mega cities. And in Asia, there are close to 10 cities that are mega cities. So how do we build a system that has strong resilience to cope with the growth that will never stop? And when I look at this, I think about I am someone living and working in Taipei. What is the value of Taipei creating surrounded by all these mega cities? And I like to use this example, a project that I worked on in 2010. It's called Invisible Cities. And Invisible City is actually a quote from Italo Calvino's book. And it says that the city, however, does not tell its past, but it contains the lines of land written in the corners of streets. And this is to basically use the data that everyday people post on Twitter, and we parsed with Google Sketch as a 3D map. And then, as you can tell, we linked them with important keywords of the everyday tweets they tweet. So we would categorize these keywords as For example, breakup, restaurants, and departure, emergency, and happiness, sorrow, and friendship, hate, love, emotions, different type of things. The height of the picture reflects the intensity of information. So as you can tell, in certain parts of the city, and it has a huge, intensive data that coming out of it. That means there could be an event or outbreak of fire or disasters. And we released this in the year 2010, and then make it available and open source for the community. And now the city of New York has adapted to its a disaster monitoring system. And the city of Bogota in Colombia also adapted. Now next year, the city of Taipei will be using it for monitoring all the data transmission as well. I'm happy to announce that we are like to make it available for the city of Tokyo for this API as well. So if you are interested, if you are an urban developer, you're interested, I'm happy to open the API for everybody here. The next, my third analysis of city to cities is about positive collision, and I will use this way of understanding how does different cities relate to each other, and I will provide Pan Asia 2014 network as an example. And here I'd like to invite my close business partner, Richard Hsu from Shanghai, who is working closely with me to share this part of the presentation. Please, Mr. Richard Hsu.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nanja-san. Pan Asia Network 2014. I think this is a bit of kind of putting dots that I've collected in the last years. Two pieces. How do we go forward? The number of things that I'm privileged to have done is I've lived in a number of these countries. And the idea is there's so much learning and sharing within the city that is important. But one thing I've noticed is the learning and sharing with neighboring cities, neighboring countries that is equally powerful. Because there's something that is actually beyond taboos. We know so much of your own cities that cannot be done, that cannot be prototyped. So this is the 12 cities that we're putting together for a November program that we're going to do in Seoul. 2013, we started this idea in Taipei, and we're hoping to rotate this idea in different cities in Asia and collecting more. 2013 was 7 cities, and this year will be 12 cities. And the idea of really connecting dots, because I think we all understand the multicultural positivity, the multidisciplinary positivity is not anymore interdisciplinary, but it's multiple. You see, we actually put second on from the top left, heritage, because we think the idea of design, innovation in Asia, without understanding the heritage, where this design and innovation coming from, it's a bit of a pity. So we believe the wellness and heritage and how we can learn from different cities. We're going to do it in Jeju Island, and it's not far distance from Seoul, and we're going to have also a Seoul City innovation tour. But I think I want to share a couple of words. I think the time we're in, the information economy, creative innovation economy, market economy, and there's one thing that we are focusing a little bit more on, is the idea of purpose economy. There have been books written and articles written about purpose. In the early 1980s, I've been studying, following, and learning a lot from Japan in the amazing combination of art and business, how the two entities cannot leave each other. And in the last 6 years, I'm focusing more on the third entity that comes together with art and business, is the concept of purpose and impact. We believe with that in mind, the design, the art in the city, And what we do with our citizens and active citizens is going to be very crucial. So there's a goal, there's a reason, and there's an aim to why we do what we do. Thank you very much. We have put 3 words, 3 questions here, and this could be open for conversation. What impactful questions are you eager to ask if you're sitting with 11, 12 neighboring cities? What new paradigm collaboration? Because I think so much of things is about new systems. It's not about really inventing, but things that exist, but how do we connect dots that may not have been connected recently? And last is, how do you see Asia to work together, to co-create, to coexist together? And this was the participants of last year. All of them had exhibitions and speech, and we presented city and city at a time. And for both of us, thank you.